Hey, quickly before we get into this video does contain spoilers for the end game of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so if you haven't beaten the game yet, I would highly recommend you not to watch this video. The game is much better experienced blind, and there's no shame in putting this in your watch later folder or bookmarking this video for whenever you're ready to watch it. But now, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Nopon. They've always seemed a little out of place in the Xenoblade universe. They're just little furballs in a universe full of humans, dragons, and large apes. Even more, they don't usually fight and are more adept as traders between colonies and cities, leading humans to protect them. However, in a very few cases, Nopon have actually had a huge impact on saving the Xenoblade universe, with Riku in Xenoblade 1 and Tora in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And this trend didn't stop with 3 either, as Riku and Manana accompany Noah's group to save the world from Mobius. Manana's role is pretty simple. She's the cook. She cooks for the group so they don't have to eat military rations all the time, as long as you're playing version 1.10 or further. And for Riku, well, his role is a little bit more complicated. As well, he only gave the most powerful sword in existence to an 8-year-old. If you're not up to speed with the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, let me quickly recap Riku's role in the story. Riku is the Nopon that accompanies Noah's group and seems to play a more tech-like role within the colony. He helps Noah's group with their weapons and, as seen in side quests, is knowledgeable about Pharaohnesses and their inner workings. However, his most notable thing he does in the story has nothing to do with tech. In Chapter 2, Mio notices Noah's sword is a bit different than the rest, and questions Noah about it. After noting that Mio is only the second person to notice this difference besides Ethel, he tells her how he got the sword, with the story going that Noah broke his practice sword while fighting with another member of the colony. He then goes to Riku to ask for a new one, and Riku shows him the Lucky 7, a sword he got from his Grand Master Pawn and can slice a Pharaohnes to bits and bits. Lance tests this theory, and after seeing that it broke his shield in half, Noah declines the sword, citing it as too powerful. Noah doesn't like fighting and is scared of what will happen to all of them while fighting. Riku then says that is a true trait of a hero, and although Noah just declined taking the sword, gives the sword to Noah anyways. However, he conceals it within a sheath since Noah doesn't want to use its power, but he says that one day Noah will need the sword's true power. And boy did he, and just a bit after that talk with Mia, Noah unsheathes the sword and begins to break every flame clock in Ionios. In post-Chapter 6 in Cucking, he also uses the sword when fighting against Mobius. So to say that Riku was a huge part of Noah's group's success would be an accurate statement. This then brings up the question: how in the world did Riku get the most powerful sword in existence in the first place? Well, his story is that he inherited the sword from his Grand Master Pawn, but the game itself even casts down upon Riku's story, as in Chapter 6 they have this cutscene where Noah asks Riku how he got the sword. Riku sticks to his story, but Noah says that he's capping, which Riku fires back saying that he's not. Noah realizes he's not going to get anything out of him, so he quits asking, but by his tone of voice, he doesn't believe that Riku is being upfront. This likely suggests that Riku is not being upfront with how exactly he got the sword. Why would Milosoft have this cutscene made if it wasn't to cast doubt upon Riku's story? If they just wanted to have a chill cutscene after the emotional roller coaster the player's been through in the last few hours, they would just have a cutscene where they're just chilling around the campfire or something, not Noah casting doubt upon Riku's story in a lighthearted way. Now, all of this together wouldn't lead to too much speculation. Besides, Nopons are traders. It wouldn't be too out of the ordinary if Riku just happened to randomly trade for this. But it's this cutscene that raises speculation. After Melia, the Kavesi Queen, is freed, she nods at Riku, and Riku nods back. No words are said, but the two seem to have a mutual understanding about something. This was deliberately put into the game, as the point of view focuses on Riku, so why did Melia nod at him? I think the reasoning is pretty clear. She's thanking him for giving the sword to Noah so that he could free the entire world from Mobius. But what Melia and Riku's relationship is something more murky. So first, let's try to figure out how he got the sword. Unlike humans in this world, Nopon are not constrained to the 10-year limit. So Nopon can be old, but Nopon at the very least seem to confine to traditional standards in terms of age. So they live around as long as a healthy, normal human would live, so like into their 70s or so. However, Riku does not have any old features, so he's likely around the age of 20 to 30 if I would have to give an estimate. So he couldn't have lived in the time that Melia hadn't been captured, as that was over 1,000 years ago, using this cutscene with him as a reference since she was Mobius after Melia got captured. And he definitely just didn't pick it off the ground randomly, as Mobius do have some knowledge of the sword, but don't know how Noah got the sword. If Mobius had knowledge of the sword's existence, if they found it somewhere, they definitely would have taken it for themselves. So Riku's story about his Grand Master Pawn is likely true to an extent. The only way he realistically could have gotten the sword was likely through inheriting it from someone else, but the question becomes, who gave Riku the sword? So who is Grand Master Pawn? Nopon can have family, so it is completely possible that it could have just been his relatives, as that would be an affectionate term for someone he looks up to, like his grandfather. But the problem is that we never see his family at all in the game. In fact, he doesn't even mention them in the game either. So we're left to speculate. Nopon have been at least seen to reproduce normally, unlike the pods that humans come from, so he has to have a family. And if Riku met his family in Xenoblade 3, I feel like he would explain it, so there's no leads there. However, we could potentially find out who he descended from. As I said earlier, the Grandmaster Pawn part of the story is likely true, but who could have known the sword's true power? Well, someone close to Melia when the worlds were still together would likely have the knowledge of the sword's power and likely have the sword initially, as Melia is quite knowledgeable of the sword after Noah's group frees her. That someone would also have to be in Nopon as well, so we're really only left with 3 choices: Riki, Kinu, and Nene. Riki had offspring in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, so it's entirely possible that Melia passed on knowledge of the sword's power to Riki, especially seeing as his signature weapon is able to be found in a secret passage in Xenoblade 3, suggesting that he, or perhaps his offspring, survived the initial collision of the 2 worlds. Assuming that they kept reproducing after this, the knowledge likely was instructed by Melia to be passed down until they met the true hero, which Riku was lucky enough to meet. Although none of Riki's children are blue like Riku, genetics play a role. If they married a different color Nopon, eventually an offspring who is blue would come if either the father or mother were blue. Also, Riku is just 1 letter off Riki, and this doesn't prove anything, I just find that interesting. Now for Kinu and Nene, they're just unlikely since they only knew them from Future Connected. They likely stay in relation with Melia, but they just don't seem as a likely candidate compared to Riki, who already has children when we see them. Also, yes, N has his own version of the sword at the end, and just like Noah and Neo being reborn even though they're technically already alive, it's never explained. But regardless of that fact, someone will still have to have knowledge of the sword's power in order to give it to the right person. So in conclusion, Riki may have just indirectly saved the world twice. We may not have been giving him or Nopon the credit they deserve, so on behalf of the entire Xenoblade Chronicles community, I apologize to all Nopon. Because of you, you've given us 3 peak games, so thanks for that. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it, and if you watched my previous video, thank you so much for that, because that video's kind of been blowing up comparatively to everything else on this channel, and it's really cool to see. If you haven't seen that video yet, it's going to be here on the end screen, so if you want to watch Mobius being stupid for a little bit, you can go watch that video. But if you aren't already subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing, I would really appreciate it. And hey, more Xenoblade content's on the way, so if you like Xenoblade content, you're in the right place. But for now, I think that's it, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, evening, night, wherever you are, and this is Crystalized, signing off.